We are making a tier list for all the different elite specs in Guild Wars 2, and specifically we're gonna talk about how much I personally enjoy them. So this isn't like how good are different elite specs, how strong are they right now. This is purely my subjective list. I'm gonna be putting stuff in S tier that you probably think are terrible, and I'm gonna put stuff in D tier which you love. I'm gonna warn all the Berserker fans in advance. Like, let's hop straight in, everybody. I guess we're starting with Elementalist. I really like Elementalist, y'all. I think when it comes to different classes, I like classes with lots of skills. I know that's not everybody's thing, but I like how in Elementalist you've got all these different attunements that you go through, right? I also like, for example, Engineer because of the same reason, and I also like Firebrand because of the same reason, just having loads of skills. So just in general, I'm a big Ellie fan. Tempest, I think I'm gonna put it pretty high, actually. I wasn't the biggest Tempest fan. I used to say that I thought Tempest was like the least fun elite specs for Ellie, but I think like now, basically a couple months ago, they really buffed specifically this build on Tempest where I use the Scepter, and it's really fun to play. It's a total blast, and it's really good too. Now, again, this isn't the tier list where we talk purely about how good something is, but it's fun when something's good, right? It's fun when you're playing something and you're like, oh, it's really, really powerful. That definitely adds to the fun enjoyment factor a bit. And it just feels good to play. So honestly, Tempest, I think it's going in A tier. I'm a little bit tempted to put it in S tier because of the new builds. But I don't know. I'm still not the biggest Tempest fan, so I think it's going to be A tier for me. Also, Heal Tempest, super, super fun to play. However, it is a bit more of the, like, it's a bit more on the structured side, right? When you're looking at different healers, a lot of healers are pretty freeform. You've got a lot of skills, you use them whenever you want. On Heal Tempest, you're a bit more locked in, like, I'm going into this attunement, I've got these skills, you're gonna have to wait a bit before you can use the other skills, right? So, because of that, I think Heal Tempest isn't my favorite healer. But it is really satisfying when you get it right. It's really satisfying when, like, you go into the exact right attunement at the exact right time and stuff like that. Side note. I think it's pretty solidly A tier. And then we're going to Weaver. I think Weaver's a difficult one, actually. Because I think Weaver is, from a thematic perspective, I think it might be the most cool elite spec in the whole game. It's like, yo, you're an Elementalist, but now you can be in 2 attunements at the same time. Like, oh my gosh, I think it's so cool. Like, it entirely, like, revamps how the class plays. It's awesome. However, Weaver does have kind of an issue where it kind of scares people off because it looks really scary, right? Like when you're sort of going through half attunements and stuff like that. So it's not very popular. There are actually some Weaver builds out there that are surprisingly easy to play, but it does kind of suffer from that Tempest build existing. Like most Ellie mains that want to like do easy damage, they'll go Tempest, you know? So Weaver, you barely see them, but I don't know, I just think it's sick. I'm gonna put it in S tier, you know? Even though most of the community probably doesn't agree with this, I am a Weaver enjoyer. Super, super fun to play in my opinion. And now, we're moving into Catalyst. I think last time, I put Catalyst in S tier as well. Because I really liked playing Hammer Catalyst when it came out in End of Dragons. However, now the weapons are no longer bound to elite specs, right? And my favorite part of Catalyst really was the hammer. So, like, I feel like I can't really put Catalyst in S tier again. Because, like, the hammer isn't really part of Catalyst anymore, right? And then when you just kind of look at Catalyst, it kind of just feels like core Ellie, but you've got, like, this one extra sphere skill you can do, and you've got, like, this little energy bar. I do think it's kind of fun to play around with the energy, but like the UI is like really small, right? This energy bar is like a tiny energy bar for ants. I do think it's gotten a bit better actually. On the quickness build, you can now generate energy while you've got the sphere up. Makes it way more chill to play. But I think I'm gonna downgrade it. It's still gonna be high, but like, so last time I did this list, I put it in S tier because one of my favorites. But I think now, I think it's gonna be B tier. That feels bad, y'all. I used to be like the Catalyst fan, right? That was like my thing. I'm like the Catalyst enjoyer, but It's just, I like the hammer, right? Catalyst itself, the Catalyst mechanic, I don't think it's that awesome. There's a lot of Catalyst builds that I enjoy though, but like, if I'm purely looking at the spec itself, I think it's gonna go in B. I don't think it's bad though. It's still like, you know, I played it on, but I think it's gonna be in B tier instead. Now that it's good, it goes into B. No! You think I'm just putting like, you know, if it's good, I don't want to play it anymore. No, that's not it. That's not it. Alright, let's move into engineerial. I am a huge engineer fan. Like I said, I really like classes where you've got loads of different skill bars that you go through. And on engineer, you've got this, right? You've got like these different kits. I do find engineer often a lot more chill to play than Ellie because, you know, they're usually a bit more survivable. Again, it kind of depends on how you build it. But to me, like often engineer feels a lot like I'm getting that Elementalist surge of like happiness, surge of joy. Like, you know, it's really satisfying to have all the skill bars, but it's just a bit more chill. It's less scary. Often you're a little bit less squishy on those builds. Although, yo, that Tempest build, not squishy at all. Actually really survivable. But yeah, engineer, probably my favorite class in the game. I think it kind of swaps between Ellie and engineer. I really, really like both of those. Scrapper, it's cool. I think I wasn't that much of a Scrapper fan the last time I did this tier list, but is this I think it's going in A tier. Basically, Scrapper, it's not really the most exciting engineer spec, I think, but it's just really easy to pick up. It's really easy to do well with, and it's really survivable. Oh yeah, the super speed is exciting. Oh my gosh, I actually forgot about that for a second. Like, when you play this in open worlds, even if you go full damage stats, you feel so survivable. You get so much barrier from things. You get like super speed all the time, so you're like zooming around. Honestly, maybe the super speed makes it go into S tier. Maybe the super speed makes it go into S tier. Am I putting everything too high? No, let's go with A tier for now. The thing is though, I do often... Okay, so the reason I don't like Scrapper maybe as much is because of Holosmith. I think Holosmith is one of the most fun elite specs in the game. I love the design of Holosmith, right? You're pulling out all these holographic weapons. You're like going wow, wow, wow with like this lightsaber. But you gotta be careful because you're generating heat. And if you get too much heat, you're gonna explode. So you gotta be careful of your heats and stuff. I think Holosmith is such a blast to play. I think it's genuinely incredible. It's probably, honestly, maybe my favorite elite spec in the game. I'm gonna put it in S tier. So, the thing is, when I play Scrapper, I always kind of wish I was playing Holo. Does that make sense? Like, I'm playing Scrapper and I'm like, oh, time to go into Holo Forge, and then I don't have Holo Forge. It just kind of feels like Holo without the cool Holo stuff. However, if you look at popularity numbers, Scrapper is a lot more popular than Holosmith. I think Scrapper, way easier to get into, way easier to do well with. You don't have to worry about overheating, so Scrapper, honestly, like when I recommend a spec to somebody that's new to the game, I would probably recommend Scrapper first, just because it's a lot easier to get into as a beginner, and it's a lot easier to like do well with it. Like, you're really survivable. On Holo, you're way less survivable, and you're also like dealing with the heat thing or whatever. So I'm gonna put Holo in S tier because I think it's exciting. I think Scrapper's less exciting. But if you're looking for like something to play, if you're thinking like, oh, which one should I go for? I'd probably recommend you go with Scrapper first. And then, you know, if you're feeling like you want some more excitement in your life, you want to have the risk of accidentally overheating, then you go play Holo. Then you'll love it. I think Holo's so fun. Absolutely love it. Alright, moving to the next one. Mechanist. I think Mechanist is really cool from a thematic perspective, right? You've got this big mech, you can like control your mech and stuff, and your mech can do all kinds of stuff. But I don't like it that much. The reality basically is that I think the mech can be a bit annoying to manage. The other day I was doing Harvest Temple on heal mech, and basically I want my mech to be on top of the team to like give them boons, but like I'm constantly like fighting against the mech AI, right? Like I'm like recalling the mech, then I'm sending it to the boss, then I'm recalling and sending it to the boss, just trying to get it in a very specific position. And I think that that's a little bit annoying to deal with sometimes. I think if you're playing DPS mech, you don't really worry about that, because your mech, you just make it attack, right? It's okay. But like if you're like healing, you're kind of fighting against the mech AI a little bit. And I think when it comes to DPS, I think it's just a little bit less exciting. Again, because you're missing the Hollow Forge thing from Holosmith. But at the same time, you also don't have your tool belts, right? Like usually on Engineer, you've got these tool belt skills. You don't have your tool belts on Mechanist, which I think is really sad. You do get to control your mech though. Like instead of your tool belts, you get these mech skills, which, again, thematic, so cool. Also really, really good right now, y'all. Honestly, Mechanist is probably one of the easiest builds to do really well on right now. It's really, really strong. And I'm seeing more and more of them, but personally, as like a big Engineer fan, it's my least favorite NG spec. Is it C tier or is it B tier? I'm not sure. I don't know. Like, I think if I'm purely looking at my own feelings, I think I'd put it in C. But like the theme is pretty cool. Like you've got a mech. It's really badass that you've got a mech. Maybe it should be B tier. No. This is about my enjoyment. I'm gonna put in C tier. I'm sorry, Mechanist. Again though, it's really good, to be clear. Really, really strong elite spec right now, but it's just... It's interesting how, like, my enjoyment of mech is a bit lower because I like these so much, right? Same with Scrapper. I might have put Scrapper in S tier if it wasn't for Holosmith existing. Alright, moving on to the next class, y'all. We're going to Guardian. Guardian is in a weird spot right now. It's not bad, to be clear, but Guardian was, like, everywhere for a while. Guardian was like so good. It was like, you know, like everybody used to meme like, oh, Guardian's like Arena's favorite class. Nowadays, Guardian is just balanced. And because of that, you see a little bit less of them. People like to play what's OP, right? People like to play what's OP. Now, I think I'm gonna start with ranking Firebrand. I really like Firebrand. I played a lot of Firebrand for years. I don't play it as much anymore, but every time I play it again, I like remember why I like Firebrand so much. You know, like I love the theme, like you've got like all these like tomes that you pull out and you get like skill bars for each tome. You can like throw fire everywhere. You can like heal your friends. You can like support them with like really good ages and stability application. Amazing heal builds. Also amazing like class fantasy on the Condy build. I like Firebrand a lot. Honestly, I think it's S tier. Am I putting too much in S tier? Maybe. I'm a huge Firebrand fan, okay? I will admit, I'm playing it a little bit less nowadays. Maybe also because I played it so much in the past. And you don't see as much anymore. You don't see as much of them, but... Oh my gosh, it's just such a cool spec. I love Firebrand so much. Now, because of that, that means I'm gonna rate these lower. Is this like the theme? Willbender. Willbender, apparently there's a heal build now. Full disclosure, haven't played that. Supposedly it's pretty good, but I haven't actually played it, so I can't say too much about that. But whenever I play Condy Willbender, I always kind of wish I was playing Condy Firebrand. It's like I'm playing Condy Willbender and I'm like, time to grab my tomes! And then I don't have any tomes. This is the exact same as with Holosmith, isn't that? Yeah, just, I don't like it as much. Power Willbender is pretty okay, but specifically I have one issue with Willbender. My one issue with Willbender is the forced movement. You know, basically your virtues, you've got these virtue skills on Guardian. When you play Willbender, these become like very mobile, like dashing skills, teleport skills. And I think that that is a total plus when you're playing PvP or World v World, or if you're in open world, because you're like super mobile, you're dashing around and stuff, right? But the second you play it in like something like a Fractal or something like a Raid, which is the kind of content I play a lot, then very often you end up sort of like moving when you don't really want to. You know, you're like standing at the boss and you're like, I want to hit the boss, but then you have to do a dash, and then you have to do another dash, and then you have to do a teleport, right? And I'm like, I don't want to move right now. I kind of just want to stand here. So there's a lot of that forced movement, right? Like, there's a lot of like, you have to dash. Even though you don't really want to dash, you have to do it because damage, right? So I think that makes Willbender feel a little bit janky. Again, though, amazing in open vaults, PvP, like vaults versus vaults, because you're so mobile and it feels awesome. You're like this, like, you know, super mobile samurai going around, and it's a blast. But in purely PvE, which is what I'm currently thinking about in this tier list, I don't like Willbender that much. Maybe I should play it again, though. Maybe I need to give it another shot, but I think I'm gonna put Willbender in C tier. And then, moving to Dragonhunter, we kind of did these in a weird order. I like Dragonhunter a little bit more, actually. Now, I haven't played Dragonhunter in a while. I think nowadays you can play the Spear, and supposedly the Spear is actually really strong. But to me, Dragonhunter, it feels like... It feels very middle of the road. Does that make sense? Like, I don't think Dragonhunter is bad, but it's not really my favorite either. Dragonhunter to me feels very straightforward, right? You've got like your two skill bars, you've got your 2 weapons, you've got a couple utilities, you've got your virtues, you press your buttons, that's it. It feels like if I had like one sort of the most basic DPS elite spec, I would think Dragonhunter. So like to me it doesn't have something that makes it really special, but it's also not bad. It's pretty okay. But yeah, exactly. It feels like it doesn't really have its thing. It does have the traps, though. You can put down these traps, which, honestly, in Volsfields and PvP, those traps are so fun. Like, you put down a trap and then you pull somebody into it, and then you push them out of it, and they get lots of damage. That stuff is awesome. But when you're in PvE, you just kind of put them down on the boss, right? You're standing next to the boss, you put down a trap, it does damage. So it's not as exciting in PvE, maybe. So I'm gonna put Dragonhunter in B tier. I'm gonna put it in B tier. Again, though, I'm not a hater. To me, it doesn't really stand out positively or negatively. It's like the solid, straight in the middle spec to me. It doesn't like annoy me as much as Willbender, but I don't think it's as exciting as Firebrand. All right, Mesmer. Mesmer's so good right now, y'all. And honestly, again, the fact that it's good really does help with enjoyment, right? When you're playing something and like every time you're just blasting, you're like, this is fun. It definitely helps. Mesmer's really, really strong right now. I would argue that right now, Mesmer might be the best class overall in the game. It's really, really strong. Actually, last time I did this tier list, I put Chronomancer in D tier. I'm not gonna do that this time. Chronomancer's back, y'all. For a long time, Chronomancer was in a weird spot. In like early Heart of Thorns, Chronomancer was like incredible. And then, you know, like all these other like builds started appearing. Lots more boon DPSs, lots more classes that can tank well. And Chrono kind of felt like it was forgotten about. Actually, in a video a while back, I made a joke that everybody forgot about Chronomancer. But it's back now, y'all. Basically, Chronomancer has now become a really solid boon DPS. Part of that is the weapons that it's gotten access to. With Sodo, Chrono can now use the dagger from Virtuoso. Originally it was only on Virtuoso, but you can use it on Chrono now. And also the spear is now a thing. It's a total blast to play, and it feels really, really solid to give those boons. What I love about it is you can do either boon, right? There's these 2 big boons people think about when they make a team, quickness and alacrity. Chrono is the only spec in the game where you can do either with the exact same setup. You just change one trait and you can switch between quickness and alacrity. So if your team needs quickness, you pick that one. If they need alacrity, you pick that one. Super amazing for like filling when you're in a team, right? Like, oh my gosh, we need alacrity. You can just do that. You can do anything. Also, Heal Chrono, such a blast to play as well. Heal Chrono didn't exist back then, but now we have the rifle, which is amazing for healing. And also just Chrono itself has gotten a lot more heal thingies added to it. And it's incredibly strong, incredibly satisfying to play. I love that you can do portals, which can, like, on a lot of fights make people's life a lot easier because you can portal them around and stuff. It's just a total joy. Also, again, I love the theming where you're like the time mage and stuff. Chronomancer has been upgraded, y'all. Last time I put it, I think, in D tier, but I'm just gonna put it in S tier now. I love Chronomancer. Also, we haven't even talked about Continuum Split. You get this mechanic where, like, you can, like, basically set this point in time, and then you do some stuff, and then your cooldowns, they roll back. Also, you get teleported back to where you were, but it's so satisfying when you get that right, you know, and like you do Continuum Splits and you do all your damage, and then you get Continuum Splits, and then they're all back, and then you get to use them again. It's so fun. I love Chronomancer. 10 out of 10. Generally S tier. Then we've got Mirage. I'm so sad about Mirage, y'all. I struggle with Mirage a little bit. The thing about Mirage is that it is fun. I do agree with you, Violet. It is fun. Mirage is like a fun spec to play. But, in my opinion, it often feels a bit janky? If that makes sense? Like... No, that's not really true. It doesn't feel janky as in the skills feel janky to use, but like, it's really challenging to do well with Mirage. I love it in open world though. In open world, like, it's one of my favorite builds to play. But when you're like in a raid or something, I find it really difficult to pull off Mirage like properly. And that kind of means that like in 90% of the cases, I'm gonna play Chrono or Virtuoso instead. So like, even though I think it's cool, I think it's just a little bit too difficult, weirdly enough. And also, like, it used to be like really difficult, and there were like a couple of people that could do it really well and they would do amazing damage, but then they kept nerfing it. So now even if you're like a total god and you've mastered Mirage, you don't even get rewarded for it that much. So I feel like just nobody plays Mirage in instance PvE. Again, open world though, super fun. If you run like the 2 staves and you run celestial stats, you basically become unkillable. You'll need to pick certain traits, right? But like, it's amazing for like soloing stuff. Like all your clones are like distracting the mobs. It's super, super fun at open world. But in instance content, I just really struggle with Mirage. And because of that, I'm gonna put it in D tier. Although it is fun, but just, I never ever feel like I wanna play Mirage. And I know that this is supposed to be a fun tier list, but like, I guess like how good something is a tiny factor in how much fun I find something. So yeah, first D tier, kind of sad. They need to do something about Mirage, y'all. Like, they need to like give it some love. They need to like just give it some like, they need to give it something that like makes me excited to play it, you know? Alright, moving on to Virtuoso. I actually think Virtuoso is fun, but I don't like it as much as Chrono. Virtuoso is probably the DPS spec people think about right now. It's incredibly popular, it's really, really straightforward to play while being really, really strong. I played a lot of Conde Virtuoso because it's a really good build, but recently, Power Virtuoso has gotten a spear, which has made Power Virtuoso a total blast. Like, I was a bit tired of playing Conde Vert because I played it so much, but now Power Vert has kind of made me fall back in love with it. But to me, Virtuoso feels a little bit like the Mesmer spec for people that don't like Mesmer that much. Does that make sense? It's like the spec, you don't have clones, instead you have blades. The blades look awesome though. But like, to me, it's like the slightly more boring spec. It's still really good. It's total blast to play, especially with the spear. I'm gonna put an 8 there. But like, I like Chrono more. Like, Chrono is like more exciting to me with the clones and the continuum split and stuff. To me, Virtuoso feels a bit like Chrono, but significantly easier to play. And that does help it, right? I think that is a huge part of why it is so popular. But yeah. I think I put it in S tier last time I did this tier list, but I'm a little bit more tired of it. Although Power Build is a blast to play. Power Build is super, super fun. The Scrapper of Mesmer, kinda. That's a good way to put it. I know, I do highly recommend Virtuoso though, especially like for people that are getting into instant content for the first time. It's super, super good. It's fun to play, but to me, Chrono is the more exciting one. It feels more satisfying when you play Chrono. Honestly, Spagutti's right though. Spagutti wrote, for me, Virtuoso like Mesmer without the clone jank. Yeah, that is true. If you don't like clones, you will absolutely love Virtuoso. And And again, I think it's a solid addition to the game, and I play it very, very much. Like, but to me, if I purely have to like rate them on how much I like them, I like Chronomancer. Still though, 8 tier. 8 tier's not bad, you know? That's really good. Alright. We're moving to Necromancer. We're going pretty fast, aren't we? Yo! Tier 2 sub from Snake on Red. Thank you so much for the support, Snake on Red. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Alright, let's talk Necromancer. I think Necromancer is really fun to play as well. Definitely one of the classes that I play more. I think it does have a little bit of that, like, it feels a little bit like Dragonhunter, as in it's not very overwhelming, right? You've got like a pretty, I guess, like, you've got an amount of skills that's still pretty, like, manageable. You know, you're not going into, like, Firebrand territory where you've got, like, loads of skill bars. But to me, it just feels a little bit more exciting, right? You've got, like, the Shroud that you can go into, like, and often, like, you know, you've got these weapons that are, like, super satisfying to play. So to me, it feels a bit like that Dragonhunter we were talking about, but a bit more exciting. Specifically, Reaper. Reaper's so good. Is Reaper S tier or A tier? Maybe it's A tier for me. I really do like Reaper though. It's just, again, it's the class fantasy is so good. Like, you become like a Reaper of Death. Like, when you go into your Reaper Shroud, you look super badass. And like nowadays, there's so many fun weapons you're using on it as well. Like, you know, you've got the swords now. Specifically, I think the offhand sword is the one that most people use. But the offhand sword is like a total blast to use in my opinion. It's fun. I don't know. Whenever I play Reaper, I always think I should play more of this, right? And it's very easy to do well with, but at the same time, like, still very satisfying to pull off, if that makes sense. I think Reaper's just really good. Like, it's the class fantasy is incredible. It's nice. Just the one thing I kind of wish Reaper could do is I kind of wish that you could do some more supporty stuff on the Reaper. Reaper is one of those elite specs that only really works as a DPS. You don't really have like a support Reaper that exists, and that would be cool if that existed, you know? Up next is Scourge. I used to be a bit of a Scourge hater. Like, I would play it because it was quite strong, right? But it just wasn't really my favorite thing to play. To me, Scourge feels very spammy, right? Like, you've got a lot of skills. You're just kind of... Scourge, to me, often feels a bit like random bullshit go. And to be fair, a lot of people love playing random bullshit go. But to me, I think I don't find it as satisfying to play as something like Reaper. However, I've actually started to like it a little bit more, because now you can use the pistol that, like, it used to be exclusive to Harbinger, but now you can use that pistol on Scourge, which in my opinion makes it way more fun, because it's actually worth weapon swapping now. In the past you would kind of just not weapon swap because there was nothing worth swapping to, but now weapon swap is actually good to do, and I think that makes it significantly more fun to play. So I might have put it in D or C, but I think it might go into B. Specifically, also the heal build is really fun. I've been playing heal Scourge a lot. It's a bit sad, but they got rid of the transfusion teleports. You used to be able to, like, if people were down, you used to be able to, like, teleport, like, all these down people on top of you and rest them, which felt amazing. They got rid of that, which is very sad, actually, because it was really fun. It was very strong, but it was super fun, and they got rid of it. But, honestly, it's still pretty good at rezzing people. Like, when you're popping transfusion at the right time. You can still, like, get people up super quickly, which is still pretty satisfying. I do like Heal Scourge a lot. So I think, purely because of Heal Scourge and because it's got the pistol now, I think it's gonna go into B instead. By the way, if you want to know how to play DPS Scourge, I have a guide on my channel. Also for Virtuoso, by the way, for Gondiverse. Haha, shameless plug. Let's move up to Harbinger. I'm actually a Harbinger fan, y'all. I think Harbinger's really fun as well. Although, I think a lot of Necromancers don't like Harbinger. Harbinger, it kind of puts the class upside down a little bit. In many ways, it feels similar to Reaper, but it's like squishy. And I think a lot of people like Necro because it tends to be really survivable and quite bruisery, and then you go play Harbinger, and then you sacrifice half your health for damage, right? So I think a lot of people don't like Harbinger because of that, but like, I think it just looks so cool, right? When you go into Harbinger Shroud, and you do like the sort of like the martial arts, like wah, 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 and you can jump and like you can throw these elixirs. Although honestly, the elixirs aren't that exciting, maybe. Like they're all kind of the same, right? It's like you throw elixir on the ground and like effect happens. I don't know, Harbinger Shroud is just cool. I think I just like Harbinger Shroud a lot. Like that fantasy and like how satisfying it is to play it. Yeah, it's like the mobile necro spec, right? Also, you can play it with the spear now, which I think is really fun. A lot of people don't like the spear though as much. It's pretty like punishing. Like you build up these stacks and then you use them. I think it's a really fun build, but like you barely see them. Honestly, that's my recommendation. If you're a Necro main, go try out Spear Harbinger. Power Spear Harbinger. That build is super, super fun. I'm starting to think you just really like spears. I do like most of the spears. I know, does it go on 8? I like it more than Scourge for sure. Huh, maybe it is a side with Reaper. Do I like Reaper more or do I like Harbinger more? Does Reaper go in... You know what? I think Reaper goes into S tier. I think it does. I think I like Reaper a little bit more than Harbinger nowadays. Just, Reaper has gotten so fun recently. Yeah, I think Reaper needs to be upgraded. It's pretty close, but I just like Reaper a little bit more. Yeah, I know, Reaper's going to S tier. I think it is. Alright, Necro doing pretty well too, isn't it? Necro specs also being very high in the tiers. Let's talk Ranger. Ranger is an interesting one too. I think Ranger is... all the builds are pretty unique in a way. Like they feel like they've got their own thing going on. I think Druid specifically is a really, really fun healer. Apparently, you can play DPS Druids as well. But I think... like, you don't see that many of them. I have actually never played it myself, so I can't say too much about that. But I like heal druids a fair amount. Just, I don't think I like it as much as something like heal Firebrand or heal Chrono. It's decent, though. Like, I like how you go into, like, the astral form. And, like, you know, you gotta, like, build up the astral force. And then you can use it. And you can do a lot of, like, burst healing. Like, the amount of healing that you do on druids feels really satisfying. I think just when it comes to the utility, I think the utility is a little bit harder to access usually. Like on a heal Firebrand, it's really easy to like throw out Aegis on demand, right? But on heal Druid, you can give out Aegis as well, but it feels a little bit more tricky. Like you've got like the pet, right? You've got the pet that gives Aegis, but there's a little bit of a cost time on it. You can also use the Spirit nowadays though, can't you? You can also use the Spirit for it too. I don't think the Spirits are very fun. Like, the Spirits to me, they don't feel very exciting. Like, I just press it and I don't think about the Spirits that much. I feel like Spirits could be more fun than they are. But just in general, like, just Astral Form. When you go into Astral Form, like, that's always very satisfying. I don't know. Is it A? Maybe it's B tier. Maybe it is B tier. Is that too harsh? No, I don't think it is. I think I like it just as much as Heal Scourge. Like, it's fun. I always have a good time when I play it, but it's not my favorite either. I think it goes into B. I think it does. Although it could be an A, to be honest. Okay, just for the sake of this tier list, looking like I'm not just putting everything in S and A tier, I'm gonna put it in B tier. Oh my god, now it's Soulbeast though. Soulbeast is so fun. I love Soulbeast, y'all. Okay, Soulbeast is like the adrenaline junkie specialization, okay? Like, I gotta explain this if you have never played it, but Soulbeast, it's all about burst. You've got like a couple of skills that will massively buff your damage, so kind of what you do is you kind of bide your time, you're not doing a lot of damage, but then you pop like all of your buffs, you massively buff your damage, and then you go like, whoa, 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 and you do crazy damage, and then like, you know, then you feel good about yourself, and you're like, yo, I did so much damage, and then you just chill. So it's like super hype, chill. Super hype, chill. And it's really satisfying. If you played in Fractals, it's amazing because you can sort of time your burst when the boss is like extra vulnerable, and you can like do like so much damage. It's amazing in fractals. However, I also think Soulbeast might be one of the most frustrating DPSs in the game. Because, like, if you, like, imagine, okay, you've bided your time, you've waited, like, all your cooldowns are here, you've got, like, your buffs, you pop all the buffs, and then the boss phases. Or, like, you know, you get knocked down, or something like that. Like, oh my gosh, it's so frustrating when that happens. You know, you've waited all this time to do your big burst, and then something happens and your burst doesn't work out, and it's really frustrating when that happens. Whenever I play Soulbeast, it's all, like, I'm either, like, having the time of my life, and I'm like, this is amazing, or I'm, like, just crying. Like, it's one of those two. I'm either like, this is amazing, or I'm, like, I'm just extremely sad. It's amazing when it works out, but I will say, it doesn't work out a little bit too often. I don't know, maybe for that reason I'll put it an A. Like, if it wasn't as frustrating, it would easily be S tier. But like, I don't know, maybe I just get good, you know? Maybe if I was like a really good Soulbeast and I just was really solid at it, maybe it'd be S tier. But maybe I'm just not good enough to always pull it off. Still amazing though, I like it a lot, A tier for sure. Class Fantasy is amazing. I do agree. Like, you know, like merging with your pets, kind of. It's super cool, and the animations are like awesome on it as well. Also, I really like that you can use the hammer now from Untamed. That's been super fun as well. Moving on to Untamed. Untamed is actually way more fun than I thought. So the last time I did this tier list, I think I rated it pretty low. Honestly, I hadn't actually played it that much back then. Actually, I made sort of some efforts earlier this year. Or wait, it's 2025. Last year, I made some efforts to like finally learn Untamed. And to me, it feels like Soulbeast, but like a little bit less frustrating. Like, you've got a little bit less of this adrenaline, like burst window thing going on. It feels like Soulbeast, but a lot safer. Because of that, it's also a little bit less exciting. I do like the whole ambush mechanic though, right? Where you're like, you know, you're like your patch goes unleashed and then you go unleashed, and you've got like these ambushes that you can do. Also in open world, it's a total blast. It's really good in open world, and you can like be super survivable while doing amazing damage. I know, Untamed is a lot more fun than I thought it was. However, like I said, it is a little bit less exciting than Soulbeast to me. Also less frustrating, which is the big advantage. But I really don't like how different playing Quickness Untamed feels from playing regular Untamed. These two builds, like, you've got roughly the same skills, but they play quite differently, and because of that, I always struggle. Like, whenever I'm playing the pure DPS, I always accidentally end up doing the Quickness rotation, and whenever I'm playing Quickness, I always accidentally end up doing the regular DPS rotation. I kind of wish that the rotations were just very similar. Because just because you can play DPS Untamed doesn't mean you're going to be good as Quickness, and vice versa. And so I think it's a big investment to, like, pick up Untamed in, like, instance content. But I don't know, it's a lot more fun than I thought. So, is it A tier? No, it's B tier. It's pretty close to being A tier, but just... like, it's not as exciting. Like, whenever I play Untamed, part of me is always like, oh, but yeah, Soulbeast though. Like, Soulbeast is so hype. But honestly though, if you get frustrated by Soulbeast all the time, like, Untamed feels way more chill. Way more chill to me. Alright, we're moving into Revenant now. Revenant is, I haven't been playing it as much recently. I used to play a lot of Revenant. But yeah, just, I think a lot of the builds can often feel a little bit high effort. Does that make sense? Like, you're both switching like your weapons, and you're also switching your legend. So you're switching your utility skills. So I feel like I have to engage my brain quite a lot when I play Revenant. Not as much with Herald, though. Herald is actually very straightforward to play. Herald, honestly, it's straightforward to play. It's really, really fun as well because you give so many boons. Like when you're like a quickness Herald, you feel like you're a bonus healer. Like you give so much like buffs to your teammates, even when you're not a healer. Like it always feels nice to play, in my opinion. And I used to not like the facets that you would. In the past, you would just like activate them and immediately pop them, but now you actually want to think about which one you keep active. But it's not too complicated. I know, Herald is cool. I like Herald a lot, actually. It's probably one of my favorite quickness builds. So you know what? It's going into S tier. I should play more Heralds, to be honest. Alright, now we're talking about Renegade, though. I don't like Renegade that much. And I think the reason for that is you've got like these sort of special skills on Renegades, right? You've got like these Citadel Order skills, and they look really cool, but I don't like that they use energy. This is sort of what I was talking about earlier, where I'm like, I feel like I have to engage my brain a lot on Revenant. To me, when I'm playing Revenant, basically, like these Revenant skills, they come off cooldown at different times, and they cost quite a lot of energy, so I feel like I'm always adapting. I feel like on a lot of builds, if I play them a lot, like I can sort of like play them on autopilot. But with Renegade, I feel like I can't play it on autopilot, because like it feels like every time I have to react, like, did my Citadel bombardments come off cooldown? Oh, then I'm gonna use it, and then I don't have a lot of energy, and I'm constantly adapting, if that makes sense. I guess that can be really satisfying if you get good at it. But I feel like Renegade is a spec where you have to put in a decent amount of effort to get very comfortable on it. And I just don't think I'm very comfortable on it as much. So I'm not sure. I haven't been playing it as much. Honestly, the spear is really fun though. The spear is cool. Easy to play as well. But they nerfed the spear and like it ramps up damage really slowly now. So in a lot of fights, like, you're like, I could be doing amazing damage, but the fight was over too quickly for my damage to be super good. So, I don't know. I think it's going into C tier. I've kind of fallen out of love with Renegade a fair amount, and I've barely been playing it. Sorry, Renegade. I used to really like you, but I know, I always feel a bit exhausted when I play it. Up next, Vindicator. Honestly, this is a difficult one. This is a difficult one to rate. Okay, Vindicator, every time I play it, I think to myself, whoa, this is really fun. I'm like using the dodge skill to do damage, like jumping into the sky. You've got the greatsword. The greatsword, you can use it on other specs, but specifically it's really good on Vindicator. It's not that good on the other specs. But the greatsword is really fun to use. It's got awesome animations. Especially in open world, it's a total blast too. But for some reason, I can't really tell you why, I never stick with it. Like, I'll play Vindicator for like a week and I'll be like, oh, I should have played Vindicator earlier, it's so much fun, and then I just stop playing it. Does anyone else have this with certain builds? Like, whenever you play it, it's fun, but like, you just don't really get the urge to play it that much. I don't know. I can't rate it badly though. Like, every time I do play it, it is really fun, but maybe I just need to force myself to stick to it, you know? Maybe I just gotta do like a month where I only play Vindicator, and then maybe I'll finally, like, you know, get back into it properly. I think I'm gonna put it in B tier. I think I'm gonna put it middle of the road. I would put it in A tier, but yeah, I stop playing it every time. And because of that, I'm downgrading it to B tier. If you have to force yourself to play it, that says a lot about how fun you think it is. Yeah, that's kind of true. The thing is, though, I can't tell you why I don't like it. Because most things about it I like. It's just, yeah, I know. Whenever I'm sitting down, I'm like, what am I gonna play? Vindicator doesn't pop into my head very often. Alright. Now, we're talking about Thief. Thief is a class that I probably actually enjoy a little bit less than most of the other ones. That's kind of funny, considering I just posted a guide on how to play like Thief with just auto attack, right? But okay, Thief to me tends to end up feeling quite spammy. Basically, the design of Thief, if you're not familiar, is Thief doesn't really do weapon cooldowns, but instead you've got initiative. You get like these initiative points and you spend them on your weapon attacks. And this means that very often the optimal way to play Thief is to spam one skill over and over, right? If you've got cooldowns, then like you use the really good skill and then you use the second best skill and then you use the third best skill. But on Thief, you kind of just use whatever skill gives you the most damage per initiative, right? So because of that, I usually don't vibe with Thief that much. Now, recently, they released a spear, and the spear kind of like moves away from that because the skills like flip over into other skills. The Thief spear seems really fun, but I gotta admit, I haven't actually really played it yet. So maybe my opinions on Thief will change once I play the spear. This is kind of based on everything before the spear. I really should have done that before I made the tier list, shouldn't I? But, oh well. We'll rate it with my current knowledge, I suppose. Daredevil, I don't like it very much. I used to actually play a lot of Daredevil. It was like one of the first specs I ever played in like raids and stuff. But I don't like the forced movement. A lot of skills on Daredevil, like you press them and like it's similar to Willbender, where you're being moved around by your skill. So very often, like there will be a boss and you want to just stand here, but you're casting Death Blossom on your dagger skill. I guess that's not a Daredevil skill though. But like many, I guess like of the weapons that you end up using end up doing that. I guess that's not really part of Daredevil though, is it? Should I judge it based on that? Maybe I should judge it on it a little bit. Because that is still how Daredevil plays whenever I play it, you know? But I guess maybe the weapons are more my issues than Daredevil itself. Because like Daredevil, like, oh my gosh, the flavor is awesome. Like you get different dodge skills, you get free dodges. It's so freaking cool. But like, I still just don't like playing it. That's true, the dodge is like part of Daredevil, right? You gotta like sort of force dodge on a lot of those builds. I don't know. It's not my thing, honestly. Like, I've tried to get into it so many times. Every time I kind of hate it. I'm sorry, Daredevil fans. I'm gonna put it in D tier. That actually hurts me a little bit, because this used to be my DPS build. When I first started raiding, this was the DPS I played. I used to love it, but every time I try it again, I just don't like it at all. And I'm always like, I'm not gonna play this again. I play it once a year, and then I just hate it every time. I don't know. I want to like it though, okay? Daredevil fans, I want to like your claws. But just, I've struggled. Maybe I'll like it more with the spear. I should try it again with the spear. Deadeye. Honestly. I don't like Deadeye very much either. This is so weird. I just made a build guide like yesterday about auto-attack Daredevil, auto-attack Deadeye. But I don't think it's very fun to play, okay? I mean, it's a really good build, clearly. Go watch that video, by the way. But like, I like pressing more than just one button. To be clear, you can absolutely play Deadeye with more than just one button, okay? Like, there's like plenty of more complicated Deadeye builds, right? But I just don't vibe with it that much. I don't know, it's just not... I feel like it's really punishing. Like, whenever there's a Deadeye benchmark, it's always really high, okay? And like, people always look at it and they're like, oh my gosh, Deadeye's so good. But it's like you go play it in a real fight and like one tiny thing goes wrong and then everything falls apart. That's what it feels like to me on Deadeye. So like either you've got the really easy auto attack build, which I think is a bit boring, or you've got the build where like one tiny thing goes wrong and then it all falls apart. Like yeah. I'm not sure. I'm gonna put in D tier as well. Oh no. I'm so sorry to all the Thief fans. No, I can redeem myself. If you are a Thief fan, don't unsubscribe just yet, okay? Don't go to the unsubscribe button. Because I do really like Specter. I think Specter's A tier. Specter is fun. I like Specter Shroud. I like when you go into Specter Shroud and like the skills in Specter Shroud feel really fun and satisfying to use to me. I really like playing Alacrity Specter. Heal Specter, they keep trying to make it good and it's gotten better. It has gotten better. Like, they keep buffing it. Like, one day, there will be a day where Heal Specter suddenly gets massively OP and everybody will play it. It's not quite there yet. But it's like, it's good enough to play now. It used to be like that Heal Specter was like just way worse than all the other healers. It's not like that anymore. They've buffed it up pretty hard. But yeah, I don't know. I still don't play Heal Specter. I still don't really touch it. One day it's gonna be good though. But like Alacrity Specter, like Colony DPS Specter, total blast to play in my opinion. I think the reason I like it more than some of the other Thief Specs is because of the Shrouds. Right? Like, it's still got the initiative issue where like you kind of spam the same skill, but you go into Shrouds and that breaks it up, right? That like makes it to me much less like, I guess, like monotone to play it. I just like Shroud, I guess. I like a lot of stuff with Shroud, don't I? I like stuff like I like stuff like Reaper. I like stuff like Holo. I like classes where you go into a different skill bar, I suppose. But yeah, I like Specter. A tier. Specter's pretty cool. Yo, we only have one class left. It's actually kind of nice that we left this one till the end, because this is the real hot take. This is the one that the YouTube comments are not going to be happy about. No. It's okay. Yo, I don't like Berserker. I don't like it. I don't know. Here's the thing. Like, I feel like I should like it, because every single time people in my Twitch chat, like, when I ask them, yo, what should we play? People are like, Lara, play Berserker. Berserker's so fun. I love Berserker. It's a total blast. But every time I try to play it, to me, it just feels so high APM. Okay, like, to me, playing Berserker feels like constantly I'm going like, there's no chill. Like, because, you know, on Berserker you've got like this, you go into Berserk mode, and then you do skill, you use Berserk mode. So often on like XX, you end up using Decapitate. So you go like skill, Decapitate, skill, Decapitate, skill, Decapitate. I think if you're the kind of person who hates the concept of rotations, and you're a big fan of like winging it, which I think many players feel like that, I think Berserker is really, really awesome for you, because it's like a really wingable build to play. But to me, I struggle with the APM. I don't know, maybe it gets better when you play it more though. Yeah, honestly, it feels a bit like you're playing a rhythm game, Spagooty. Because like there's this rhythm, right? You're doing like skill, Decapitate, skill, Decapitate. But like, there's like zero chill. You're constantly like going like That's why I don't like it. Maybe it is a skill issue, honestly. Maybe I just gotta get good, but like I've tried to like Berserker so many times, and every single time I'm like, no, I'm gonna go back to the other builds. I don't like it very much. Oh my god. Oh, however, Spagooty makes a good point. What about Heal Berserker? Heal Berserker is a total blast. I do like Heal Berserker. Like you've got like the staff now in Warrior, right? That was added by Soto. And like, that build is actually very fun in my opinion. It's sort of got that Berserker vibe to it, where you're like, you know, you're constantly like casting your like primal burst skill. But somehow I find it less annoying to do when I'm healing. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because like there's a bit more reactive gameplay, right? As a healer, you're like reacting to what's happening. And to me, it doesn't feel quite as fast. Right? It doesn't feel quite as spammy, maybe. It's just, it feels a bit slower to me whenever I play it. I know, Heal Berserker is fun. Just the weapon is so fun, right? Again, it's not really part of the build, but you do use it specifically on Heal Berserker. So you know what? I was gonna put it in D tier, but Heal Berserker upgrades to C tier. Maybe it even upgrades it to B tier. Nah. Okay, my hate for Berserker runs pretty deep. No, I'm so sorry. I really want to like Berserker, but no, it's C tier. Again, Heal Berserker is cool though. Maybe one day I will finally get good and then I'll get it, and like I'll understand why everybody likes it. Because honestly, if I ask my chat, if I ask my Twitch community, they all love Berserker. According to them, it's all S tier. Just maybe we're just gonna get good, y'all. Maybe that's it. Maybe we're just gonna get good. Up next, though, Spellbreaker. I really like Spellbreaker. You know, maybe why I like Spellbreaker? It's just slower. It's just like slower than Berserker. It's like less spammy, and I think I like that. And it's still pretty satisfying though. It's still pretty satisfying when you're like using like Winds of Disenchantment and you're like trying to cast skills inside of it. And like the weapons that you end up using on that build are often very fun. I really like the spear that you end up using. To me, Spellbreaker is like Warrior, but I like it. Like it's like Berserker, I'm like struggling. But when I play Spellbreaker, I'm like, you know, actually Warrior's pretty fun. And then I have a good time. Yeah, it's Warrior but slower. Maybe that's just why I like it. Maybe that's why I like it. Also, it tends to feel a bit more rotation-y. And surprisingly, I actually like stuff that feels a bit rotation-y. Like where you're going like this skill, this skill, this skill. Again, I think many people are the opposite of that though. But I think Spellbreaker's fun. Actually, I think it's fun enough to put an 8 there. I had a really fun time when I was playing Hammer Spellbreaker. And now you've got like a whole bunch of like, you can now also use the spear and stuff, right? I don't know. I'm a Spellbreaker fan, y'all. I'm a Spellbreaker enjoyer. Skills feel more meaningful. Exactly. I think that's part of it. Like when I'm a Berserker, it feels like I'm just spamming. But when I'm on a Spellbreaker, it feels like every button I press does a bit more, right? Yeah, I know. Honestly, maybe my enjoyment of Spellbreaker is like boosted by the fact that I don't like Berserker that much. So every time I play Spellbreaker, I'm like, yeah, I like this way more. You know? I think it just comes down to like what your specific playstyle is, right? Do you like the really fast stuff? You're gonna like Berserker. Do you like to go a bit slower? Then you might like Spellbreaker more, you know? Are there any core specs that you feel would be higher than D tier comparatively? I'm not rating core specs right now, mostly because I feel like in almost every case, I feel like the elite specs make it more fun, right? So like, I don't really like Daredevil very much, but I do like it more than core Thief, right? So I feel like if I were rating these, I'd put all of them quite low. Again though, they're okay though. Like core isn't bad at all by any means, but I just think that elite specs, they add so much fun stuff to it, right? Like you add like a whole extra mechanic, you add this whole extra dimension. So whenever I play, I never want to play core, right? Like I always like, no, I'd rather play an elite spec because I get more fun toys to play with. So I think the tier list would get weird if I were to rate them. Because I love these classes, right? Just, I never choose to play core. I always choose to play an elite spec. Oh, we still got one left, y'all. Bladesworn. That's a tricky one to rate too. I am actually a bit of a Bladesworn fan. Oh no, I just got DCs in game. Hold on, let me get back into the game. I actually really like Bladesworn. But Bladesworn, it kinda has the same issue as Soulbeast. And it's got that issue, basically, like, you've got, like, this one big shroop, right? I love the class fantasy. Like, you sit down, and, like, you've got this, like, gunblade, and you're like, whoa, boom! And you do tons of damage, and you get, like, a really, really large hit. And it feels really satisfying when you pull it off. But when something goes wrong, right as you're about to unleash your massive shroop, then it feels quite bad, right? Like, the boss goes in phases, you get knocked down, or like, I don't know, the boss just decides to move somewhere. And then you're sitting there like, no! But, I don't know, like, it feels like the Soulbeast of Warrior. It's like the adrenaline junkie spec. It's like incredibly exciting when you manage to pull it off, but it's also really frustrating when you don't. Now, it used to be that Bladesworn was the highest DPS in the whole game. So it was really worth like learning that sort of special playstyle. Nowadays it isn't. Nowadays it does about the same damage as everything else. And that's really hurt its popularity, right? Because it's like, it plays so different from pretty much anything else in the game. Right? So a lot of people are like, oh, am I really gonna learn that? Like, back then they were like, yes, because you get really high damage. Now it's like, well, I can just keep playing what I'm playing, right? Do I really have to switch to something that's super different? But I like that it's so different. I like that there's nothing else in the game that plays like it. Maybe Soulbeast is like the closest thing. But like, it feels like an entirely different class, right? Like we were talking about how Catalyst can feel a bit like Core Ellie with one extra thing. But Bladesworn, it barely even feels like a warrior. It feels like its own thing, right? It's all about the big swoops. And oh, it's so fun to play in open world too. Actually, like, I've got this solo build I've been running a lot, where, like, your Dragon Stash, it heals you. It's so satisfying to play when you're fighting, like, a boss in open world by yourself. You know, you fight, like, a boss that's designed for a whole team, and you kill it alone, and you're, like, healing yourself with the swoop. It feels so satisfying. I don't know, I've got a weakness for Bladesworn. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to most people, because it's so different. And it can be extremely frustrating at times, but when you manage to pull it off, it feels so good. I think I like it more than I like Soulbeast. Do I like it enough to put it in S tier though? I think I do. I think I do. It's pretty close, but honestly, like, I'm a Bladesworn fan, y'all. I'm gonna put it in S tier. I'm gonna do it. Now again, I think that that's actually a bit of a hot take. I think a lot of people don't like Bladesworn, but I just love how different it is. And I love the fantasy and I love how satisfying it is. And like, every time I play Bladesworn, I don't always do amazing with it. Usually I end up doing pretty badly, but I always like it's always a ride. You know, it's like an emotional roller coaster every time. Oh my gosh, it's fun. Like, you know, there's a lot of raids that I've done like hundreds of times, but then I do them on Bladesworn and it feels like a whole new game. You know, it's like... I think that's why I like it. There's nothing else like it. So, I think that's what we're ending this tier list with, y'all. The final hot take, Bladesworn and S tier. Let's look back at this. Is there anything that I change? Now, honestly, I think I agree with most of this. I think I do agree with most of this. Maybe I was a little bit harsh on Willbender. Maybe Willbender could go into B. No, I'm gonna keep it in C, but it's close. It's close for sure. And then apparently, like, I'm just not the biggest Thief fan, I suppose. Again, I gotta play the Spear on Thief. Maybe then it will be better. But yeah, that's it, everybody. Let me know what you think in the YouTube comments. Like, was I super wrong about something? Do you big time agree? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you want to, make your own tier list and put it in our Discord. And I'd love to like see what tier list y'all came up with. That would be fun to do as well. Oh, and one final thing before I sign off. This video is an unscripted video, right? This is it. I'm doing this on stream. Usually I don't put videos like this on my main channel. Usually I only do scripted stuff on the main channel. I'm making an exception for this one. But in 2025, my New Year's resolution is to bring back my highlights channel. Look, I've actually got a second channel over on YouTube, specifically for stream highlights. I haven't posted here in like a year, but this channel is about to come back, y'all. My goal is to post 2 videos here every week. So, if you enjoyed this stream highlights, you were like, yo, this was pretty fun, and you want to watch more stream highlights, go check out my other channel. Go check out Loranity Highlights. I'll put like a thing at the end of this video, and you can check it out if you're interested. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let me know what you think in the comments. Stay cozy. Appreciate you massively. Say hi to Twitch, and I will see you all again next time. Bye!